Hello and welcome. In this video I'm going to explain an easy way to connect Python to a SQL database and execute queries. So let's start. Based on the type of the database you need to connect, there are different packages available. In this video I use SQLAlchemy, which is compatible with most of database types, and mysql-connector to connect to a MySQL database. I also explain how you can directly put the output of your SQL queries into a Pandas data frame. At the first step, we need to check if we have all the libraries and packages installed. So I do this by running pip freeze code. Pip freeze gives a list of all installed packages in your Python. To generate a connection with a MySQL database, we at least need these three packages, which is SQLAlchemy, PyMySQL, and mysql-connector-python. So if you don't have these packages installed in your Python, use pip install in your Python command prompt or in your Jupyter notebook to install these packages. As I have already installed these packages, I skip this step. Here I have my database credentials. It's not necessary to have them like this, but it will be easier to use in the codes. I start with SQLAlchemy, which is a more general method. So I import create engine from SQLAlchemy. Engine is the starting point for SQLAlchemy connection, and it describes how to communicate with a specific kind of database. So in order to generate an engine object, we need a URL. This URL starts with a dialect which corresponds to the database type, for example MySQL, and a driver name which represents the database API which is going to be used, and then followed by the username, password, hostname, and the database name. I use my database credentials and define a URL string following this format. Now let's call the create engine function, create engine, and pass in the URL string. Then call the connect method. So say to the connect method to actually establish a connection. Now we are connected to the MySQL database, and we can use the execute method to run a query on our database and see the results. So let's say, for example, I run a simple query which shows the tables in the database. So and a simple query is show tables, and we can print out the results in a for loop. So for in and we see the list of tables in the database here. And finally, make sure that you close the connection if you are done with the connection, because you don't want to leave an open connection with your database. So simply call that close method and it will close the connection. Or instead you can use establish a connection in a with statement, so it will automatically close the connection for you. Now let's see how we can read the data from a SQL query in a Pandas data frame. So let's import the Pandas as PD, and suppose the query is to show all the data in the parts table. So using Pandas is very easy. Just first call the read underline SQL function, and the parameters we need is the query, which is here, up here, and then we need the same URL we used as the Alchemy, this URL here. So it is going to establish the connection for us. So and I run this code and print the results. So, and you see the output as a Pandas data frame. Finally, let's look at the MySQL connector API for Python. The library is imported with mysql-connector. To establish a connection, call the .connect method on the imported connector and pass in the database credentials like this. So it's the username, password, the host name, and the database name. Suppose we have a query which shows all the data in the project table. In order to execute this query, first I need to create a cursor object, which is and then on this cursor object I call the execute method and pass in the query. Now in a for loop we can see all the records in the query or the cursor. So this is all the data in the project database. And finally, as I'm not using a with statement here, I need to close the connection by calling the close method. And you can find the link to this notebook in the video descriptions. That's it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or ideas, please share with me in the comments. And if you like this video, don't forget to share it with your friends. Good luck and have fun.